Hello, good people, and welcome to this episode of All in Johnson County, the podcast that lifts up everything that's good, all in Johnson County and the surrounding areas in metropolitan Indianapolis. And it's good to be with you, and it's also good to have some great guests with us who are longtime people involved with Johnson County and the surrounding area. It's my good friend Joe Bottorf and his daughter Heather Harmon, who are from Dock Real Estate. And Joe, Heather, good to be with you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Well, it's awesome for have you here on the All in Johnson County podcast. And Joe, you and I go back quite a ways. We've known each other since I think it was 1975, maybe, when I first met you.
That's about right.
When you were in ministry and I was in high school, and believe it or not, I was in high school one time, and then we did a trip to Washington D.C. together. Remember that?
A long time ago.
Yeah. And Heather, you and I have had contact over the last 15 plus years here in Johnson County, and it's good to be with you as well. And together you team up as a father-daughter team here at Dock Real Estate, which you can find at dockrealestate.us. And let's just start here. Heather, you've lived in Johnson County quite a bit, and you've worked here in Johnson County quite a bit. Let's just start with you. What to you kind of makes Johnson County and this surrounding southern metropolitan area of Indianapolis, what makes it a good place?
Oh, I love Johnson County. I've lived in Greenwood for many years, and there's so many things here that I really enjoy. I've got to say my favorite restaurant, I got to start out with that, is Our Table. It's in Burgersville, and that's where I got married. My father here, who is also a retired pastor, he married us there, and it was a beautiful ceremony. They have awesome food, and I got to say that's my favorite restaurant. So start with that. Other things that I enjoy, there's great park system here. There's breweries here. There's wonderful schools. My kids graduated from Center Grove High School. They also went to the Center Grove Montessori schools when they were younger. So my family's grown up here, and I just really enjoy the area.
So you feel like the quality of life is pretty decent, huh?
Oh, yes, absolutely. That's
awesome. Joe, tell me a little bit about, you've lived and worked here around Johnson County, in Johnson County for some time. First of all, you've been in business here for some time. Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, I established Dock Real Estate in 1991, so I've been here, 30-some years.
Wow.
So,
Now,
yes.
That's awesome. And so I imagine you've seen quite a bit of changes here in this county and this surrounding area in that 33 years, right?
Oh, yeah. I remember as a high school kid coming up from Seymour and driving up 31, and when you got to Greenwood, you were still a long way from Indianapolis.
Right.
So it's changed a lot.
Well, tell me, from your experience and seeing all those changes, being involved with business here for quite a while, what do you think makes Johnson County and the surrounding area a good place to be, a high quality of life?
Well, one thing, it's very business friendly. The Aspire or Chamber of Commerce here is very aggressive about helping businesses get started. And we've been members with them for a long, long time. And I think that helps. I think the political side of it has been very friendly to business and helping businesses get started and established. And so I see Johnson County. There was a time when Greenwood was the Knapp part of Naptown.
Okay.
But
yeah.
And a lot of people didn't know about Greenwood, and that's changed dramatically. It's progressive. It's the Carmel of the South now. So.
which is kind of, in a way, an inside joke, but those of us around the Indianapolis metropolitan area, we know what you're referring to. As you can see, I have a daughter lives in that, but daughter lives in that basic neighborhood, Noblesville area, and so I get exactly what you're talking about. What you're getting at, though, is that the quality of life here in Johnson County and the South Side is pretty good, and there's lots of good things that are happening here. You mentioned the business community and the political environment being a good thing. So in that light, if Johnson County is a good place and you feel both of you have chosen to live here or near here and to work here for a long time, and Heather, your kids went to school here, and so you've been involved with the educational system, you've been involved with various aspects of life here, and you both mentioned how you've seen it grow. I don't know exactly what the statistics would say, but I know population alone, let's say in the last 25 years, has just blown up, hasn't it? Just,
way more than doubled.
Yes.
Just blown up, and I'm sure you know the actual statistics better than I. So there's reasons why all that happens. So let's just say there's somebody out there who, for whatever reason, has opportunity to at least consider coming to the Indianapolis area and perhaps Johnson County or this area to relocate or to look at some business opportunities. Why would they want to do that? What would make this particular area the place to go when they could choose a Carmel or some other place around the Indianapolis area to land?
Some of that has to do with the county, and Greenwood in particular has a lot of potential, and there's a lot of growth ability here that sometimes in some of the other places it's harder to get in. So if you're establishing a new business, it's much easier to get started here and get going and make it successful. So that's a big thing for me, I think.
Yeah, very good. Heather, when you talk to potential clients or people out there maybe coming from outside, what kind of things do you tell them about what we're just talking about here? What makes this the place to go?
Well, the school systems, the trails, the businesses here, and also we're 15 minutes from downtown Indianapolis. So if you've got an urban professional who doesn't want to actually live in downtown Indianapolis, wants to be out a little further, we're only a hop, skip, and a jump down to downtown Indianapolis and have all that kind of lifestyle there as well.
And the interstate system
Yeah.
really helps with that because
Yeah.
you jump on and you're there.
Yeah, you jump on I-65 and even the new I-69
I-69
helps, and
Right.
31 goes right downtown. So those things all help there. So tell me a little bit of what's going on in the real estate world these days overall. Then we can talk a little bit about your business in particular. What's the real estate market like? What's going on with that, particularly here in Johnson County, but overall here in the Indianapolis area? Tell me about real estate. What's happening in that right now?
Well, of course, we've just been through inflation going on, and the prices have gone up on homes, which is clear. However, we're still a best kept secret in the whole United States. Indiana is, and particularly this area, is underpriced from the rest of the country. I love it when I have buyers coming in from California or New York, because I'll show them houses in the $500,000 range, and that's, are you kidding? I can get all of this for only $500,000, and they'd expect to pay $2 or $3 million in their homes and get the same amenities that they can get here. So, and on top of it, we still have a very affordable market. I mean, there is no reason why you can't find homes $150,000, $200,000, $250,000 in a very affordable way. And the interest rates, I know they're somewhat high right now, but let me tell you, I bought a house in 1983 at 18% interest, so these rates are really low right now.
Over the course of time, especially when
Yeah.
you have a long time,
Yeah.
they fluctuate
Yeah.
quite a bit. And
So it's not that bad right now, and they are coming down slightly, and I think that's going to continue as inflation gets better under control. So.
Yeah. Well, Heather, tell me about maybe a client, maybe a particular experience you may have experienced where you had this experience where there was a bit of this aha moment, like, okay, I think we can do this, and I think this might be the place for us. Can you tell me a story about that, something along that line?
Well, we had a business that came into town, and they were moving from Chicago, and we looked all around Indianapolis area, and they finally decided Greenwood was the place they could start their business. They had a lot of help from the Greenwood Chamber of Commerce, Aspire. They helped them. They actually helped them get loans to get their business started, and they're extremely pleased that they moved here to Greenwood area.
So they kind of had that moment have you been able to follow up with them to see if that's been an overall good thing?
Oh
yeah,
yes, oh yes. Their business is blossoming. It's growing really well. They've actually expanded, so they were extremely happy about coming to Greenwood.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, let's kind of flip this around a little bit for a minute here, Joe and Heather. Let's just say someone is on the other side of things. They're thinking about selling, or they're thinking about either downsizing, or maybe even upsizing, or just changing homes for whatever reason. What are some of the things they should, given we mentioned some of the nuances, some of the changes in the real estate market and that type of thing, what are some of the things they should be doing, either preparing for that or looking out for? What are some of the things that a potential home seller should be looking to be about?
The sellers need to realize that the market is not ballooning right now. So unfortunately, sometimes we get sellers who think, oh, well, my house is even worth even more. And that's probably not true right now. Right now, it's kind of settled. Yes, they've got equity. Almost everybody's got equity right now. So they have money to be able to decide, I want to move up or I want to move down. They've got equity to put into the next property. But they may not be as, what do you say, get that way high dollar price that they've been seeing in the last couple of years. So
I may have seen something somehow in the media, or maybe a friend or a neighbor or sold a home a couple years ago, maybe have got a different number than what they had. Their expectations need to be measured. Is that one way of putting it?
yes, measured. They have to be a little bit careful. I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about Zillow or not, but Zillow is an algorithm, and it takes the national aggregate of properties. And when you apply that to a market like Greenwood, it just doesn't fit very well. Okay. So people look at Zillow and they say, oh, my house is worth such and such $. Well, let's look at what is actually happening in your neighborhood and in your surrounding area, and it may not be that at all.
So that's where people need to maybe turn to some professionals to get a little more insight or advice. Is that
all real estate is local, no matter what you do. All real estate is local, and you need a local professional who knows the market. That's the way you'll get your highest and best dollar for your property.
And I'm guessing that Doc Real Estate may be one of those places people can turn.
Well, I would think so, yes.
Yeah. You know what we're talking about here, and I'll get the details of that in just a second, is the stress that happens when people are buying or selling, right? And you got transitions that happen. You mentioned about a business moving from Chicago to Indianapolis. Whatever's going on with that company, there's stresses to that, and employees moving and what have you, that kind of thing. There's stresses with that. And perhaps if something along the line of, your business relocation or your residential relocation can somehow deal with that stress. How do you think working with a real estate agent or can help with that stress when people are making these major life transitions?
Well, I can say for businesses, and residential, we help with all of the steps in the process. So we take a lot of that stress away. We can help we get all the title work done. We check if we need surveys. We keep all the timelines going in the correct order. We have the inspection scheduled. We provide names. We help with getting stuff repaired on the house if it needs to be done. So with us directing and helping and setting all that stuff up and doing all this work in the background, it takes off a lot of the stress off the seller and also for a buyer as well, because we can also direct them. This is when you need to be talking to the mortgage company. This is when these papers need to be turned in. So with all of that guidance and direction, it keeps the stress and the transaction down quite a bit. We just had a gentleman who was moving from here to Pennsylvania, and he had a lot of things going on with his transition, starting a new job. We were able to help him get the moving truck scheduled. We helped him schedule time to be able to move out of the home. So all of that stuff helps to lower the stress for the buyers and the sellers.
Yeah.
Just give you another example too. Like we're helping a business relocate from Perry Township down to Franklin right now. And one of the things that we're due with them, and we pride ourselves on doing, is giving them every week a summary of what we've done, what is expected, what's coming up next, so that there's a lot of communication that goes on, so that they say, this is what's happening, and you don't need to be anxious about it. Here's the process that's going on.
So basically a checklist or a punch list or something along this line, using your professional experience to help people to navigate all this. Because there's a lot of, I bought a house 4 years ago, and there's just a lot of stuff to do.
A lot of steps that people don't realize.
A lot of stuff to care for, and and if you could somehow manage that side of things, where you're going to live or where you're going to transition your business, and deal with the other personal stuff somehow, your relationships and all the other dynamics of moving, then that can at least take that off your plate. Let's turn this whole scenario around a little bit, Joe and Heather. You ever encountered someone that you've done business with who kind of has some regrets or some horror stories about how they tried to either do something on their own or do something a little, half baked or something like that, and it kind of fell apart on them, and they had to kind of help me, Joe, help me, Heather, to fix this or whatever. Any good stories of regrets or horror stories like that, Joe?
Oh gosh. Well, yeah, I hear those stories every once in a while.
Yeah.
However, the best thing you can do is reassure the folks that here's what I do. I never talk about other people and what they've done or not done. That gets nowhere. All I can do is I can reassure them, this is the way we work, and this is what we'll be able to accomplish for you and get done for you. And I bet 90% of the marketing of a property is done the very first time you meet with somebody, and you sit down with them and go through all of the comparables and show them the statistics of this is the truth. Some people will walk into a place and off the hip will say, oh, well, I think this is worth about X number of dollars. No. You do the study.
You can't really do it just by eyeballing it. You got to do a little homework.
You definitely got to do some homework.
Deeper, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we've talked here about kind of the process here and what happens. And so, Heather, let's just say that, what about your Doc Real Estate? How can you particularly be helpful here? You mentioned some of the dynamics of what you did there. Mm-hmm. But if somebody, if I have my brother lives, an hour or two away, is looking to move here, and I say, okay, these are the people we need to talk to. How does that work? If my brother gives you a call and says, hey, I need some help with relocating, walk us through the process of kind of how that works, Heather.
Okay, so your brother would call, and I would take the phone call, and we'd have a great conversation with each other to find out exactly what he may be looking for and what his hot points are. Like, what does he need in a home? What kinds of amenities would he like in his home? We'd work on setting up a search. We would try to meet up with each other to get to know each other a little bit better, so I'd have a better feel of what he actually needs and wants. Then we'll go out, look at homes. We get him set up with the mortgage company. We help him through the entire process of buying the home. And we are very, very good with personal connection. That is what we try to achieve, because the more I know about you, the better chance I'm going to find you the most and the best home for your situation. And most of my people that I've worked with, we've become great friends. So over the years, I've made lots and lots of friends. They contact me, after the fact. We get together. So I like that about it too, is that we become a community. All of our buyers and sellers are part of our community. And that's great. I like that.
So here in personal connection and develop community and ongoing relationship.
Communication with them.
If a year or two down the road they're having some issue with the house, the hailstorm comes and beats up the roof. They call you and you might have some recommendations.
Absolutely.
What practical matters to do, who to contact, and how to deal with whatever it would be, insurances and that kind of stuff. You might have some advice in that.
Oh, absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah, we do help out with that a lot. People call back a couple of years later. Oh, can you recommend a plumber? Can you recommend someone to help us put our carpet in or whatnot? We always have recommendations for that.
Really practical matters then, and ongoing and
Right.
personal.
Right. Right.
That kind of thing. Joe, is there anything we need to talk about here regarding any of the nuances regarding the financial pictures and working with mortgages? People always are really concerned about that when they talk about home buying. You mentioned about the value of the home, but there's a lot of people who think, oh my gosh, selling a home, buying a home, I got to deal with mortgage companies and interest rates and all that kind of stuff. Is there any just kind of guidance that you might give somebody who's at this and that exploration stage about what they can do to prepare or to get involved with that part of the process?
Well, one of the things that's been happening over the last few years is people go to the internet very often first and look at mortgage stuff, and they may shop by rate because they think, oh, well, whoever gives me the best rate will give me the best deal. That is not at all necessarily true. The rate, there's lots of fees involved in mortgages, and you have to be able to look at what is the total picture of this. And we need to be able to say, you need to check this person. For instance, we might say to them, okay, you have a big down payment. Then don't go to a big bank because they're not going to give you the best working situation with a big down payment. Go to your local credit union. They'll give you a much better deal in that situation. Or you may come in and say, my credit isn't very good and I'm not sure we can even qualify for a house. Well, there's an awful lot of great programs out there, either to help work it through or get them into a property that they actually can afford. And it's also important to work with people that won't oversell you. I've seen some people come in and they want to spend right up to the top of their ability, and that's a mistake.
They get overhoused or
they get house poor. That's what happens. And we just we don't let that happen as best we can. Sometimes people just absolutely insist, but we will advise as much as possible to not let that happen.
Reminds me of one of my sons when he was just to turn 16 or 17, got his driver's license and got his first job at minimum wage. And he was wanting to buy a car, and he was using my car. Anyhow, he says, the car I want to get, Dad, is a Jaguar.
Oh, gas, of course.
And I said, all right, you go for it, buddy. You go for it. And he found one in some online deal. And I said, okay, well, look at your minimum wage job and look at what the number is for that thing.
And what it's going to cost to fix it.
And whatever it's going to be. You get the idea. Yeah. But what I'm hearing you say, Joe, is that it's a complicated matter, the financing and the searching, as Heather's talked about, and all this type of thing. And you do need some guidance.
You need some guidance and some counseling.
Because once you sign off on that mortgage or that paper, you're committed one way or another. You either got to get in it or get out of it. But you made a commitment, and you've got to deal with it.
Let me give you an example. Have a couple that's in their early 70s, wants to downsize, but they're sure that they want a two-story house with about an acre of property.
That's a downsize.
And they're downsizing, And so, yes, I will show them two-story houses on an acre, but I'm also careful that I get them some one-level houses, no steps, and maybe on smaller lots that they can handle easier and not have so much to take care of, so that they at least see, here's some other possibilities.
Right.
So,
how's that work out for you?
It's working out usually pretty good because they say, I think this might work better.
There you go.
I got to say, we have a saying in real estate, buyers are liars. Not on purpose, but they always say, oh, we want this. And then you go out, you show them, oh, I want a 2-story, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. And then the next thing you know, they're buying a ranch with a basement. It's just how it is. You don't always know what you really want until you actually go out and look.
So it's important that you work with people that will show you the right options.
Right, right.
It's a process.
Right.
It's not the type of thing, real estate, is just simply not one of those things that you should do on a whim. You know, I'm sure
Right.
people do that,
Yeah.
but it's really perhaps probably not the wisest course of action. So, having said that, let's just say that buyer is maybe a year or two away from whatever they're doing, you know, whatever their transition is, retirement or kids out of the house, whatever it would be. What are some things they can be doing to prepare, either their home actually or financial? What are some things they can do? Let's say they're 2 years out and they think they're going to make a transition. What are some things they can be doing?
Well, they want to get the highest and best price for their house. Everybody wants that. And so if it's a residence, you want to keep it clean. You want to keep it uncluttered if you can. You go into some houses, you can't tell how big they are because there's so much stuff in it that you can't really see it.
Right.
So it's helpful to do that. And I do tell sellers sometimes, I don't care what you put in the garage. You can stack it to the ceiling, because what happens, generally speaking, is the guy looks in the garage and says, oh yeah, this is a great garage. It doesn't matter what's stacked in there. And the wife looks in, yeah, it's got a garage. Let's go in and see the kitchen. You know, so get stuff out of the house that's cluttering it up, and think about it. It's a good practice. Just walk into your front door as if you were a buyer.
Okay.
And say to yourself, would I like this? Would I like that? Does this fit? And it does help if you'll actually do that. Walk in the front door as if you were a buyer.
Try to put on the fresh eyes,
Fresh eyes.
Yeah.
as it were.
Yeah.
And that's good. And Heather, what should that person be thinking about financially in terms of maybe appropriate down payment for the type of house they're looking for, or anything along that line?
Well, if they're selling their home, they probably have some equity in their house. So most of the time it takes 20% down if you're going to do a conventional loan. So if they have the equity from their home they're going to sell, they'll probably have the 20% down. But the more money you put down, usually the better rate you get. I mean, there's conventional with 20%, there's insured conventional, there's FHA, which is 3.5% down. So there's all kinds of options, but again, you usually get the better rate with the more money you put down.
And don't forget the veterans benefits,
Yes.
because it's zero down with if you're a
Yeah.
veteran.
They're back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, these are all some things to keep in mind if you're looking at this.
Mm-hmm.
But let's bring it back around one more time to, we're talking about this, name of this podcast is All in Johnson County. We're talking about Johnson County and the surrounding areas, but what makes this a good place to be and to live and to serve, so or to be in business. Let's just say one more time, what was that about? You mentioned about the restaurant, Heather, earlier that you like. Joe mentioned about some of the things he's involved.
Hey,
Well, that's just
I'll
kinda-
mention something else.
Yeah, what's one more thing, if that kind of thing that makes Johnson County, this area, kind of unique or special, that's really makes it the place.
Important to me, and you know I'm a retired pastor,
Absolutely.
so is that Johnson County has a very strong religious, what shall I say, a religious culture. It's not pushy religious, but it cultivates a culture that is friendly and open and welcoming to people, and that comes with a good religious community.
Yes.
And so I think that's very important in Johnson County.
I agree. Heather, anything you want to add to that, or anything else we're talking about? Is that part of life?
I was going to say, again, what he just said is the welcoming people of Johnson County. Like, anywhere you go, people are friendly to you. If you go up to other parts of the northern part, they're not as welcoming to you. So I enjoy that you can go down the street, say hi to people. They talk back. You go in the grocery store, they say hi to you. Ask how you're doing. So, I mean, that's a real plus to know that everybody's friendly and welcoming and wants to be around.
Friendly and welcoming. What a
Yes.
great way to bring us around. And so,
Yeah.
and a part of being friendly and welcoming is if someone is looking to make a transition, real estate wise. I'm guessing Doc Real Estate's a place to go.
Yes,
It is.
please.
So, Heather, how can people be in contact with Doc Real Estate? Tell us some of the details if people want to reach out to you.
Okay, you can reach out to us on the website, which is docrealestate.us. You can call our office at 317-888-7333. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. So we can get you through social media. You can reach us through email as well. My email address is heather@indiedocteam.com. Again, that's heather@indiedocteam.com.
We'll put all those connections at our website.
Okay,
which is
awesome.
all in johnsoncounty.com. Joe, anything you want to add to our conversation?
Yeah, I want to add that from the commercial side, we work with Crexi, which is it's a regional platform for commercial properties, and we work with LoopNet and CoStar, and we are connected with every real estate company in the whole metropolitan area, so that if we take a new listing, they all instantly know about it in the commercial side. So it's a very good network.
And that's good to hear. And those are all organizations that have to do with real estate in the business context.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yes.
So that's good to know. Well, I would just share that it's been my pleasure to have a good time visiting today here at Doc Real Estate in their palatial offices in beautiful Greenwood, Indiana. And it's been a pleasure to have an ongoing relationship with Joe and Heather for quite a few years. And there's reasons why we came from different areas, but we have reconnected here in Johnson County over the last several years, and it has a part to do with the quality of life, what makes things good here all in Johnson County. It's been good to be with Heather Harmon and Joe Bottorf from Doc Real Estate. And we'll see you next time here on the All in Johnson County podcast with Dr. Brad Miller.